So welcome to the Lewis Carroll Society of North America fall meeting held in conjunction with the University of Florida. And I welcome all of you. There's kind of two things that I like to talk about. So as you know, this is a meeting that's in person as well as being simulcast at the same time. So to the folks in the room, what I love is a statement found in Alice in Wonderland. You can't think how glad I am to see you again, you dear old thing, said the Duchess as she tucked her arm affectionately into Alice's and they walked off together. So it's nice to see you, and it's been nice to tuck arms together with the people who are live. And I thank you for coming and being in the room today. Then we have more people on our Zoom channel, actually. So we have about 110 or 15 people registered on Zoom. And so to them, what I want to do is provide a quote by Steph Tondo, one of our members who's in Italy. She's a PhD doctorate, a doctorate in English. And I don't speak Italian, so I did have some difficulty reading what her real major and her department was. But when I put it in Google Translate for it, the department that she's in is the Department of Belonging. And I thought that was pretty special for saying how we share information, and that the group of international and even with people in the States are closer than you think in terms of being with us. So I thought that was great. So my next group that I want to thank is really the University of Florida. And it's been a long time coming for this meeting. So we started planning for it close to 2.5, almost 3 years ago, quite frankly. And then we had issues with COVID, obviously, and this is our first in-person meeting. So I want to thank Dr. Judith Russell, who is the Dean of the University Libraries, Hawley, who is the chair of the Special and Area Studies Organization Libraries, and then Ramona Caponegro, who is the curator of the Baldwin Library and Historical Children's Literature section. So it's been a really fun time. I am so delighted to have learned a lot about the university and preparation for that. So thank you very, very much. From the Lewis Carroll Society, all meetings take a lot of people. So I want to thank Heather Simmons, who's hanging out in the virtual land, helping us track all of the chat, and Alan Tannenbaum, who's been our tech support. And he's also on the board of directors in the nominating committee. You'll hear from him regarding the election that we just completed this morning, actually. So what has happened in the last 2 years, which is laughable, but what I can say is that we've had over the 2 years where we didn't meet personally, and we've had 27 meetings, events that are either short hour meetings and social opportunities, or our annual meetings, which were turned into virtual meetings. So it's been a very active time for us. And during that period, the board has also done some things. So we, due to COVID and just time changes, have needed to rewrite or revise our bylaws. So we've spent a lot of the summer actually looking at that and how we operate and open up the organization so that we can encourage more of your direct participation in that. So you will be hearing a lot about those bylaws. So the board has approved the draft of those, and it'll be up to the membership to make the final approval and acceptance of those. So that will happen probably early in the year. The other thing that we made a decision about was what is the format and structure of our meetings in the future. And so yesterday we had our annual board meeting, and it was an interesting one. It was the first one where we have been simulcast with the board, actually. And so it was a very interesting meeting. But we had half the board was here and half the board was online. And I think we accomplished all the goals with a little bit of difficulty, but it was good. And in the end, people at the end of this meeting usually ask us, when's the next meeting? And so the next meeting, we don't have a date for, but what the decision was is when we found out that probably more than 3/4 of our membership want us, because we've been getting notes, to continue the online presentations and continue the online meetings. So if we lost all of our Zoom people, we would have approximately 38 people who were going to be registered for this meeting. So we made a determination that starting now, after this meeting, we will have in a year, 1 in-person meeting and 1 virtual meeting. We're going to try this for a period of 3 years and see how that works. So the monthly meetings events that we have will continue in their form or some format. We'll look and see what we need to do in terms of scheduling. And Heather Simmons will be in charge of those, as she has been for the last 2 years. And then we will work to develop a conference that will be virtual for the next one. So expect a virtual meeting. And then because the virtual meetings actually are slightly easier to set up in terms of getting the speakers, there's no location, expenses are decreased, then we'll start working at the same time on the in-person meeting, which will follow sometime in 2023. So that was kind of a big decision with a lot of discussion, because the real discussion is that everybody in the room likes in-person meetings and they like the conversations, the meeting new people, and we're not going to lose that opportunity. So that's kind of the big breaking news. Second thing is, I wish you were in the room, because I'm looking at about 15 phenomenal posters that were made from the collection in the Baldwin Library. And I'll see if they'll let me borrow some of the files, because you'll recognize the illustrators, you'll recognize the publishers. They are pretty magnificent. So today, what we've done so far is we've had the Schaefer children's reading yesterday at a school called PK Yonge. It was great. We had 50 third graders. They were fun and they had a million questions. The presenters were 5 librarians from the University of Florida. They are incredible. You would have assumed that in fact, the kids thought they were actors. There were a lot of questions about their names and what they did for a living. So it was a pretty incredible day. And then we have had visits both in the Baldwin Library as well as the Educational Library. So we've learned a lot about Alice here so far already. And we've had a really great time in terms of being involved in some of the university activities and strengths. So I want to again thank the university for that. It's pretty spectacular in terms of the preparation for our first meeting. I'm really quite stunned, so thank you. So we're about to get ready. So I'm going to turn over the program to Judith, actually. So thank you, Dean. It's nice to see you, and thank you so much. I wanted to do this. Thank you, Daryl friend.
Oh, all right.
It's my Alice walk, right?
Thank you very much. I'm Judy Russell, the Dean of University Libraries here at the University of Florida, and I'm really delighted to have all of you here for the Lewis Carroll Society of North America Conference. Whether you're joining us here in Gainesville or via Zoom, we're really happy that you're spending the day with us, and that the conference, which was originally scheduled in 2020, is finally happening. There's so many things that got postponed by COVID, and it's really wonderful now that we're beginning to get some of us back in person and that the conference can move forward. This community and the libraries have had a long relationship with Lewis Carroll's works. Since 2008, the Harn Museum of Art has had 2 exhibitions featuring local artist Maggie Taylor's illustrations of Alice's adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. And I'm glad that you'll be hearing from her later today. Carroll's novels are routinely taught in classes on campus. And in February, UF's Performing Arts will host Momix Alice, the company's latest production, which is rooted in Alice's adventures in Wonderland. You can also find Carroll's books, as well as musical scores, works of scholarship, and other stories inspired by his books in many of our libraries. Library West is our Humanities and Social Sciences Library, our Architecture and Fine Arts Library, the Education Library, and a variety of collections here within the Smathers Libraries, including popular culture, rare books, and of course, the Baldwin collection of historic children's literature. In 2007, the Baldwin hosted an exhibition called The Afterlife of Alice in Wonderland, followed in 2013 by an exhibition on Arthur Rackham, which naturally included some of his famous illustrations from Alice. Through the collections or exhibitions, each Baldwin curator has celebrated Alice and her place of honor within children's literature. So it's only fitting that our new curator, Ramona Caponegro, whom you're going to hear from shortly, to have her first large public event, a conference for the Lewis Carroll Society. And in this way, Baldwin and Alice continue their journeys together. We're also honored today to have Rita Smith with us, who was the curator who immediately followed Ruth Baldwin in heading the collection. So it's really nice that she's come back to join us and share in the activities here. I trust that your conference weekend will be filled with new insights and more questions and many good conversations. And of course, cups of tea. So we're looking forward to the tea party tomorrow afternoon for those who are here in person. And I hope that you have a fabulous time. And I really thank you so much for coming here and bringing the conference to us and sharing it with us. So now I'm going to turn the meeting over to Haven Hawley, who's the chair of our Special and Area Studies Collections Department. So I guess I get to do the Alice walk too. I'm probably not as good at it as she is, but I'll give you the mic first.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for coming. It's really exciting to have a community that's both in person and online. As the chair of the Special and Area Studies Collections Department, we do a lot of work that is on-site, but we also do work that's off-site. So I especially like the challenges, I would say, of trying to figure out how to navigate this pandemic world. But I also want to say it's a wonderful opportunity because many people who wouldn't be able to be here in person can participate with us online. So I have a few housekeeping things that I need to make sure that we're all aware of in order for each of us to have our best experience. I will pass this to Ramona, and I do want to say that after Ramona speaks, I will do a few technical issues here on the front to make sure we have the fullest experience before the presentation start. Thank you.
Thank you, Haven. So, wow, we are finally here. I know you all have been waiting over 2.5 years. I just started working on the conference in March, but it still seems like we've been having many, many meetings. So the fact that it's actually happening now is tremendous. So thank you all. I want to do a lot of different thank yous. You'll see Haven, you'll see me, you'll see some people a few times, but there are a lot of people behind the scenes who also worked really hard to make this happen. So I want to acknowledge the people in public services, especially Michelle Wilbank, Steve Hirsch, and Caleb Del Rio, who helped with pulling lots of books and getting things organized. Our exhibitions team, Lourdes Santa Maria Wheeler and Katiana Bagay, helped tremendously with the banners and the display in the education library and the display in the lobby here. Brittany Kester, yesterday, if you came on the field trip, she's the education librarian who helped us there, along with the PK Young librarian, Megan Kopich, who arranged for us to be able to meet with the 3rd graders yesterday. And also Jean Ewert, the English subject specialist who was on the field trip with us yesterday and got to make a lot of fun bus calls for me, and will be here today and tomorrow to help all of us have a better conference experience. So, I mean, I can't thank these people enough for helping me get situated and start a first conference, and also to the LCSNA team, especially Linda Cassady, Alan Tannenbaum, and Heather Simmons, who are fantastic at doing Zoom meetings and figuring out how this was going to work virtually. Thank you all so much and welcome, whether you are in the room right now or in Zoom. As Haven mentioned, we've got some tech things to do, and our first presentation will start at 9:45. So in the room or at home, you've got time to get a cup of coffee, breathe, and we will be back with the first panel in about 20 minutes. Thank you.